Alright, so hello and welcome to the ongoing AS and A-level Python series. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at Dunder methods. So Dunder methods, it's actually short for double underscore methods in Python. And these are special types of methods that you immediately recognize by the double underscore going on. And basically, they are used to define how objects behave. Like for instance, when does an object print, how does it compare and respond to operators, as it were. So we've actually looked at some of these. Specifically, we've looked at the init method. That's an example of a Dunder method in Python. And we did establish earlier on that it is a constructor that is going to be invoked or that is going to be automatically run whenever we create an object. So maybe let's just start with a refresher and create a class called person. Then inside of person, let's have the Dunder method init. So that's the constructor. So immediately you see that remember what we said earlier on, that the first parameter inside of your constructor is always going to be self, is it? So we are going to have self, then maybe let's have a name for this person. Then inside of the constructor, we simply want to assign the name that is right here to whatever name we are going to give whenever we create or instantiate rather the person's a person object, as it were. So when we come out of let me just hit enter a couple of times, right? So when you come out of this class definition, we are going to create a person. So let's just call it P. Then the person is let's give the person a name. So maybe let's call this one Bradley, right? So what's going to happen is on line number 9, we are instantiating a person object, is it? So the constructor is now going to be automatically called, and it's essentially going to take this name that we've supplied right there. So that's going to take the position of this variable right here on line number 7. It's going to assign that particular object's name as Bradley, as it were. So essentially, init is going to be run automatically. So let's actually go ahead and run the script. And you see that actually nothing really happens because we are not doing anything with that person object, as it were. We are just instantiating a person object. But you actually know that our code works because you don't get any trace back here. So it means that our code works as intended. So essentially, init is going to be automatically run whenever we create that person object, as it were. Maybe let's improve on the example so that it becomes more meaningful. Instead of just instantiating the person object, we can actually control what's going to be printed, is it? By making use of another Dunder method like string. So double underscore str, right? You see that there. We have that Dunder method there. So inside of here, we want to return f formatted, that is the person's name, as it were. At least this time around, we're going to do something with it. So in the previous episode, we did look at format printing. So I just want to format print this object's name, as it were, or the person's name, as it were. Right, so that's what we want to do there. Then outside of the class definition there, we can then come here and print the person's name. Right, so notice we are not using print name, but we're just using print, then we are printing the object P. So what the string Dunder method does, it actually converts an object into a string. So since we have a string called name inside of here, it's actually going to be printed right there on line number 13 when that line is run. So let's go ahead and run this script, and you see that it says person is Bradley, is it? So that's another example of how you can make use of Dunder methods, right? The first one is the constructor, which is going to be invoked whenever you create an object of that particular class. And the other one that you can make use of is this string method that essentially converts your object into a string, as it were. Moving on to another example, maybe what you can do is, if we didn't have, maybe let's come here and comment this out, just like that, so that you actually see what I'm talking about here. if we didn't have that string Dunder method, you actually see that what we are getting is that the person object is at a memory address this much, is it? So this is actually what happens if you don't make use of the string Dunder method. So essentially, it's just going to try and print out an object. But remember, an object is not a string, so it's actually just an entity that is there, that is stored in this particular memory address. So what we get is we are being simply told that the object is at memory address this much. That is without the string Dunder method. But with the string Dunder method going on in our class, we can actually be able to print the actual name for that particular object. Is it? So that's how the string Dunder method works. All right, maybe I can also show you a different Dunder method. Maybe let's use the len Dunder method. What we can go ahead and do here is we can comment this out because we no longer need this. Maybe let's have another class definition here. We are just going to find a class called basket. Then of course we are going to have the constructor for this basket method, basket class, sorry. Then we are going to have a variable called items that we want to put inside of the basket class. Then we can say itself dot items is equal to items. Then let's demonstrate the len Dunder method, what it does basically. So self is always going to be there for any function that you define inside of a class. Then let's return the length of self dot items, right? Then let's come out of the class, drop out of the class, and instantiate a basket object. Then what we can do is we can pass in some items there. Let's put apples. I'm missing a pair of quotes there. Bananas. Maybe let's have one more. Carrots. Right. Then what we can do is if we try to do what we did earlier on, print b, let's say we wanted to print we wanted to know how many elements that we had inside of that basket object, is it? If we tried to say print b, you'll actually see that we still get the memory address just as we did in the previous person example, is it? So it's not really helpful. But because with this len Dunder method going on line 18 and 19, we can actually do something like this. We can make use of the length function and print the length of b, is it? So this len b is actually going to look at this b object, that is this basket object, and inside of the basket class definition we actually have this length or this len Dunder method going on, and it returns the count of the items that are contained in that particular object. So if we go ahead and run this, you'll actually see that we should get 3 printed down on the console, and there it is. So that's how the len Dunder method works. Yeah, so maybe now moving on to what I really wanted to show you. You might have actually seen this in my walkthrough series where I use if Dunder name is equal to Dunder main, is it? So that's what I want to demonstrate right now. So maybe what I can do is maybe just put a comment here. So usually I do this. I say if Dunder name is equal to then double quotes, then Dunder main. Then I'm going to run my main method. You might actually have seen me doing this in my walkthrough series. If you've ever checked that out, you definitely see that I do this a lot in my walkthrough series. So this is actually one of the most important patterns in Python, rather. Why? Because every file in Python has this built-in name Dunder method, is it? So basically the whole idea of having this in your script is whether you want to run the file directly or you want to run the file as an imported module. So let's actually go ahead and look at this with a basic example. So I'm just going to create a script here. Maybe let me call it app.py. Then inside of app.py, this is my file. I have a function called greet. I'll define a function called greet. Nothing fancy, something very simple really. We're just going to print hello, right? Then outside of the function, we can also have another print going on there. Maybe let's say this always runs, something like that. Then we can also we can put if Dunder name is equal to double quote Dunder name, right? Then I'm going to print this runs only when executed directly. Right? This runs only when executed directly. Then greet again, and import greet down here, right? So I want to show you what happens by running directly and running as imported, is it? So let's actually first do the first example whereby we are going to run this directly. So let's say we invoke the Python interpreter. We are going to invoke the Python interpreter there, and we have app.py, right? You see that essentially it's running everything that is inside of this script, is it? We have that function definition on lines 1 and 2, and this is going to run. And we also, since we are calling greet rewrite here on line 6 under Dunder main, greet is actually going to be called the second time around, is it? Rather, it's going to be called the first time around. So you see that we have hello going on there. The first time around is not really a call, but it's a definition, is it? So yeah, we should see this. We should see this, and we should also see the call to greet. So that's actually what's happening right here. You see that this always runs. This runs when executed directly, and you see the call to the greet function there, is it? So that's how that works. If you are going to run your script directly. So now let's actually go ahead and look at what happens if I try to import this app file in a different script altogether. So I will come here and create maybe a script called test.py. Then inside of test.py, I'm going to import app, right? So remember, we have that app script going on right here, is it? So when I come down here and invoke the Python interpreter on test space test.py and hit run, you actually see something interesting right there. So you'd expect that since I imported app right here on line number 1, I should be getting everything that is inside of app printed, is it? But that's actually not going to be the case. Why? Because we have this safeguard going on line number 6, which is if Dunder name is equal to Dunder main, is it? So this is essentially a safeguard that says that you should only run the contents that are contained, or rather the code that is contained under Dunder name, Dunder main, if I run this script directly. Otherwise, if I run this script as an import, you should only run the code that is outside of there, that is just inside of the script, but not under Dunder name. So that is why you see here when you run the test script right there, you only get this output which says this always runs, is it? So that's the difference, or rather that is why we make use of what if Dunder name is equal to Dunder main. So it means that the code that is under here is only going to be executed if you run the script directly. Otherwise, if you run it as an import, it should only run the code that is maybe contained outside of that Dunder name, Dunder main definition or structure, as it were. So why is that important? Because essentially this allows us to separate reusable code from executable code. Like for instance, maybe let's say we always wanted this line number 4 to run, even if we import up in different scripts as it were. But this code right here, we only want it to run if we are using this script directly. So that's how we can actually separate that logic. We have code that is reusable outside of Dunder name, and code that is only executable or directly executable inside of what? Of Dunder name, as it were. So yeah, I think that's just about it for this particular episode. Hope that makes sense and hope you learned something. I'll see you guys in the next one.